Meeting to order. First item we have on the agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance by the Honorable Greg Pierce.
You'd stand, please. I have a reasonably short invocation, but I do have a little prologue to that. I don't believe there's anybody in this room tonight that hasn't either been directly affected by the floods in some way or another. Be you victimized by the floods, be you a first responder, a second responder, friends and neighbors. And what we've all had to deal with is an incredible amount of stress. And people deal with that stress different ways. In times of severe stress with me, being a Christian, I turn to God and through His Word in the Bible. I live each day by waking up and reciting Philippians 4:13, which says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I think that's a word that we all need to keep in mind today. So be you a Christian or not, I would ask that you pause with me for a moment and reflect on the words of Paul the Apostle, not Paul, my mentor here, who I'm blessed with as well. But if you would, those of you who are inclined to pray with me, please do. Those who are not, would you please just have a moment of reflection? So let us pray, please. Eternal God, our Father, in 2 Corinthians, the Apostle Paul calls us to console those who are suffering, as you, Lord God, console us in our suffering. Please be with us today and in the days ahead as we try to comfort and support one another in our personal and communal struggles with the flooding that has darkened the lives of so many. We know that you walk with us in all things, and we are strengthened by your presence in our lives in everything, on good days and in bad. We give you the glory, for we ask these things in your name. Amen. Amen. If you join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce.
Can't beat Presbyterian College, can you?
Ms. Dixon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As everyone knows, for the month of October, we are recognizing domestic violence and breast cancer awareness. So this week, as you can see, majority of council are in pink as well as some of our staff. And I want to say thank you all for participating in this event. Next week, oh yes, thank you. Next week, we'll be wearing pink and purple to combine both awareness. So next week colors are pink and purple. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. You may be getting beyond my wardrobe, but we'll definitely try.
Pink and purple thing like that.
Okay, next we'll have the presentation of resolutions and proclamation. The first one will be a resolution establishing October 25th through 31st of 2015 as End Child Hunger South Carolina Week in Richland County. This is a resolution recognizing the End Child Hunger South Carolina Week. Whereas the annual End Child Hunger South Carolina Week is being established in Columbia, South Carolina on the last week of October to bring awareness to the fact that 1 in 4 children in South Carolina live in families where their full food needs are not met. And whereas this week will bring awareness to local, state, and national efforts led by the United States Department of Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack to end child hunger. And whereas their efforts will lead to the reduction of hunger for the youth of today and the youth of the future living in Columbia, South Carolina. And now therefore it be resolved that Council Chair Tory Rush, District 7, and Richland County Council recognize October 25th through October 31st, 2015 as End Child Hunger South Carolina Week, and urge all citizens of Richland County to continuously work towards ending child hunger. Ms. Page, I present this resolution to you, and would you like to say a few words about it? Thank you.
So thank you for that. And I see some familiar faces, but before I kind of talk about the week, I first want to, on behalf of USC, where I work as the Childhood Hunger Community Organizer, as well as my branch in Child Hunger SC, a huge thank you, thank you, thank you. I have called some of you all immediately after flood. Seth, we touched bases. Councilman Washington, you helped with the family Ms. Dickerson, you helped with the family get a dumpster. Councilman Manning, we touch bases, so thank you all for supporting us as we still continue our flood relief efforts. We graciously appreciate it. I also would like to highlight some of the events that we will have for the week. First, I would like to challenge each and every one on council to participate in the SNAP Challenge. We have been asking folks in Columbia in the Midlands to participate in this challenge because we know thousands of family in our state. SNAP is not a challenge, it's an everyday reality where families get around $4.25 per day for their full food as well as their beverage needs. So I would ask that you all will accept this challenge and take it for the duration of this week and see if you could actually live as many of our families in the Midlands live on a daily basis. Also, Richland Library will be having some story time. So every Richland Library you will visit will have a nutrition-related story time, as well as a book display referring to hunger and how we can work together to improve hunger. On Monday night, we will have a community concert. We'll have this by Girls Rock Columbia. Adventure is going to do some healthy cooking. Also, Richland Library have their Play Freely van. And we're having this at the Forest Lake Park and the northeast side of Columbia. Again, that's Monday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. So we hope that we will see some of you all in the audience there. There will also be a healthy Halloween festival on Wednesday from 4 to 6 at the Belfield Cultural Arts Center. And there will be adventure with healthy treats. The library will offer crafts and activities. And there also will be the Food Share Columbia produce boxes where SNAP recipients can purchase a box valued around $50 to $60 for $10, and non-SNAP recipients can purchase them for $20. We will also have DHEC nutritionists will be doing some family cooking, and they'll be doing that on Thursday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Hyatt Park. We'll also have some policy and practice briefs that we do at the center. We'll be rolling those out, as well as we'll do a press conference with Richland One regarding them doing community eligibility provision. And so again, on behalf of End Child Hunger SC, we thank you all for granting us this week, and we hope that council, as well as folks behind me, will also support these endeavors as well. Thank you.
Next, we'll have a proclamation recognizing Disability Employment Awareness Month. The Honorable Jim Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, colleagues. We'll be joined by several folks from Able, South Carolina, under the leadership this evening of Robbie Kopp, who works with their advocacy program. Y'all come up close here now. This is a proclamation. Well, let me say, Able, South Carolina is a center for independent living. It's consumer-controlled, community-based, cross-disability nonprofit centered here in our part of the state. And so we're going to recognize National Disability Employment Awareness Month, whereas residents of Richland County with disabilities have the same aspirations to competitively work and contribute to their communities as everyone else. And whereas business and community leaders have called for a diverse and capable workforce to further advance Richland County's economy, and whereas it is this spirit that Columbia, South Carolina, and Richland County is recognizing October 2015 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month to raise awareness about disability employment issues and celebrate the many contributions of people with disabilities. And whereas the support and cooperation of all people are needed to reduce the attitudinal and physical barriers that hinder full acceptance of people with disabilities and their rightful place in employment. And whereas the National Disability Employment Awareness Month in Richland County recognizes that individuals with disabilities are capable, contributing members of society worthy of full access and inclusion in Richland County's workforce. And now, therefore, be proclaimed that Councilman Jim Manning, District 8, and the Richland County Council support October 2015 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month and encourage all Richland County residents to identify barriers to employment for persons with disabilities and continue to work toward improvements to ensure a competitive wage in an integrated environment for all South Carolina citizens. It's signed by myself and the chairman, Ms. Tori Rush, and attested the 20th day of October 2015 by S. Monique McDaniels, Clerk of Council. So with that, it's proclaimed that October 2015 is in Richland County Disability Employment Awareness Month. Thank you very much. Would you like to say a word?
I would. I'll keep this short. Thank you so much for the awareness, and thank you for this proclamation to make sure that people with disabilities are included in Richland County's workforce. A lot of times from both business, I hear that there's difficulty getting the talent that's necessary to continue to grow business. And from the disability community, I often hear that there are barriers to employment that are oftentimes just perceived and aren't actually real. But those perceived barriers keep this gap intact between people with disabilities and employment. Together we can change that. Together we can make sure that people with disabilities have a fair shot, that they can participate fully in employment and can participate fully in the community. Thank you for this time. Thank you, Richland County Council.
Mr. Chair. I'd like to have a point of personal privilege. I had the pleasure of visiting and being with the group, and I mean, it was so wonderful. I came away so inspired, and I've been trying to do my best. So thank you, Mr. Manning, for your leadership, and Robbie,
Come on
thank
down,
you so
get in the
much.
picture.
Please do, please.
Yes, talk myself into getting in the picture.
Y'all come on up this way.
We can come in. Let me come like this.
All right, come on now, we all gotta get together so we're all in the picture.
Just like the background. I'll bring you a picture. I'll bring you a picture.
All right, how we doing? There we go. All right.
You did.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Okay, next item we have on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Special call meeting, October 12, 2015.
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Chair and take, I got a motion for approval. It's been properly second. Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Chair, on page 15 of the minutes, the item regarding the name of courtroom B in the Judicial Center, the Ada Harper James Courtroom. Mr. Chair, I move for reconsideration on that item.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion for reconsideration. It's been properly second. Any discussion? All in favor of reconsideration, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Division. All in favor of reconsideration, please signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Rose, Jackson, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington.
Any against?
Opposed, Malinowski, Pierce, Rush, Manning, Jeter.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to
All right,
move,
that motion carries.
Mr. Chair, I move approval for the name of the courtroom 2B in the Judicial Center, the Ada Harper James Courtroom.
I got a motion on the table to move for approval of that item. It's been properly second. Any discussion? Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just restate my comments that I did the last time regarding this item not having any information or facts in front of me. But our clerk of court, Ms. McBride, took the time to reach out to all counties to find out the policy on this type of a situation, and found out that this is not something that is done anywhere else in the state. that any namings are done after judges and higher officials that have excelled in the line of duty, and not just a person that is elderly, has put a lot of years and time in, and because they're a good person and done their daily duty from week to week for all those years. But to go above and beyond the call of duty is the way Ms. McBride put it. She also stated, if I recall, that by doing something like this, it would open and I'll use her words, a can of worms for all courts in the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Next we have Ms. Dickerson.
I heard you mention, my esteemed colleague mentioned that this is something that has not been done in the state before. I don't care, I mean, sometimes you have to take the leadership and go above. Just because the other people are not doing it does not necessarily say that we can't do it and be first to do it. And so that is one of the reasons why I support it. This, I think, is a very good gesture, and I support it fully. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dickerson. Mr. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a question in the request for action, which Mr. Malinowski's indicated where the clerk of Richland County Court, elected by the same folks that we are, indicated did not recommend this. There was also reference that we ought to look at a certain statute in the state law, but there wasn't any reference to what that statute said, and I was curious as to what legal would give us advice regarding that statute that they referenced.
Mr. Manning, members of council, I think the statute which was referenced referenced the duties and responsibilities of the clerk of court. And that statute basically just said that the clerk of court, and I'm sort of summarizing and paraphrasing, has the responsibility of running the operations of the courthouse. It does not speak specifically to the issue that's before you, which is the naming of a courtroom. Obviously, the county owns the facility itself. By law, the clerk of court runs the operations of the court. So there is no statute which specifically speaks to the issue that's before the council, which is the naming of the courtroom.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Manning, you still have the floor. Are you done? Thank you, Mr. Manning. Ms. Dickerson.
I'll decline any further comments.
Okay. Any more discussion, Ms. Dixon?
Mr. Smith, Does the county currently have any ordinance, guideline, or policy on situation like this that governs how we name a courtroom, etc., building?
From my recollection, Ms. Dixon, the county does have an ordinance that relates to the naming, I think, of buildings. Yeah. But it.
It's not a building.
But it doesn't speak to this issue, I don't believe. But it talks about the naming of buildings itself, as opposed to.
This is a room. No.
So we're kind of sitting in a gray area because buildings, which to me, a room is in the building, does not fall within our ordinance, policy, or guideline. So we're sitting in pretty much in a gray area.
Was that a statement or you?
No, that's a question.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a question. Are we sitting in a gray area?
Well, there's nothing currently in your ordinance that speaks to the naming of a
Room.
room. So you have no guidance as it relates to that pursuant to your ordinance.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a secondary motion that we defer this item and send it to the ordinance review to modify that ordinance guideline or policy to include rooms, space, etc. Because currently we only have something that talks about a building. And if we're going to name a room, which the county owns, and there's nothing there, next month I may need the 4th floor named after me.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
That's the substitute motion.
Second.
I'll
It's been
second that.
properly second. The deferral is non-debatable.
No, I don't think she's deferring, I think you're
Yeah,
referring, you were referring it.
No, she
Or did you use?
Defer.
I make a secondary motion.
To defer and send back to
Defer.
her. Yes.
Yes, and defer the action on the motion to name this until we come back from the review on the naming of the room or whatever.
Okay, deferral is not,
ordinance review.
deferral is non-debatable.
Clarification, but then you have to make a motion also to,
I did make a motion.
I thought you just make a motion to defer.
Defer
So it's
and
a
with
two-part motion?
directions.
Yes.
Yes. with
Okay, just want to
directions.
make clear, it's a two-part motion, okay.
Okay, deferral is non-debatable. All in favor of deferral signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Pierce, Rush, Dickerson, Manning, Jeter.
All opposed, like sign.
Opposed, Rose, Jackson, Livingston, Washington.
Okay, that motion carries. All right, we're back to approval of the minutes for the special call. It's been moved and properly second. Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to have a correction to the minutes on page 9, the third sentence where it says, Mr. McDonald stated if Irma were to ask for assistance, it would only be eligible for the Richland County portion, which was, of course, fully understood. However, that response came about because I asked the question, as did my colleagues ask several questions who are named throughout here, and I would just like to make sure that that question goes in there was all. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion as amended. Was that amendment, Mr. Malinowski?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion is on approval as amended. Any more discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have adoption of the agenda. Mr. McDonald.
I have no changes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Malinowski, you want item 11? All right, Chair, entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda.
No, Mr. Chairman.
We got a motion on the table for adoption of the agenda. It's been properly second. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Report of the attorney for executive session, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, my understanding, we have one item that qualifies for executive session, and that's a contractual matter related to AT Consulting Group, and that matter, members of council can be taken at the end of the agenda.
Is item 23 also for executive session? Because that's not.
Is that the agenda?
Yeah.
Unless the council has any questions about it, we do have the attorney that's here representing them, but it's
Yeah, it's not for executive session.
Yeah.
I was just checking.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that complete your report?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Next, we have item citizens' input for items on the agenda not requiring a public hearing. We have
Several people signed up.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. First, we'll have Mr. Bernard M. Wilson, 1104 Goodwin Road. Mr. Wilson, if you'll come forward, state your name and address for the record, and you have up to 2 minutes to speak. And while Mr. Wilson is coming forward, if I can have Sammy Wade and Jerry Green, if you would like to line up over here.
Bernard M. Wilson, 1104 Goodman Road, Gaston, South Carolina. I've been a resident of, Mr. Chair, of the Richland County for 62 years. I come tonight just to share some information, as well as our Councilman Washington has been very helpful in many aspects of concerns that we've had. I come with the Lower Richland Minister Alliance. The president of that alliance is Wayne Adams. We've been in existence for 4 years. It's been established back in 2003. There's approximately 21 pastors and ministers that's a part of this minister alliance. The purpose in which we were formed for concerns in regards to our parishioners and also the people of Richland County. It was formulated so that if there are some concerns that are going on in our community, that we will have a voice and a platform in order to voice those and show uniformity. And I'm also a part of the Wateree Upper Division, where there's 18 churches involved in that. These entities are there to up the mobility for the community, as well as the families that we represent. In regards to the flood, and that's what I signed up for, that the churches in that area has become distribution centers. Mr. Washington's and other elected officials been very instrumental in working along with us. We give God praise and glory for this council, and we thank you for allowing me to speak this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wade.
8025 Springbrook Road, Columbia, South Carolina, 29223. And I stand on behalf of those churches that I represent in Lower Richland, overseer and moderator, primarily for Mr. Jackson and Mr. Washington. And we want to thank the council for all the hard work you've done as a result of responding to the flood. Since the flood, as a recovery effort, we've been able to see an operations center by the name of LROC plan and execute actions that really helped the citizens in Lower Richland. And I'm asking tonight if you could find it in your heart to fully fund that particular operations center. It's doing a great job, and I believe it will continue to do great things for the people of Lower Richland. And thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Mr. Jerry Green. And then I have Ms. Sabrina Todd.
Jerry Green, 1222 St. Mark's Road, Gaston. I'm a concerned citizen, and I would ask you to support General Turner's full budget, please. We have been really working hard with the flood people. We've been getting out, we've been getting the stuff as much as we can, and we would love for your support. You have done good, but there's still much more needs to be done. And I thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Green. Ms. Todd. Then I have, is it Maxine Williams?
Marvin Williams.
I'm sorry, Mr. Williams. Marvin Williams. And then Helen Spearman.
I'm Sabrina Todd. I live at 1312 Glenhaven Drive. There are several people here from Glenhaven Drive. My husband and I moved to Richland County in 1995. We bought our home on Glenhaven Drive in 2000. We have, without exception, complaint, or delay, paid our real and personal property taxes when due every year. We are good citizens and good neighbors. We are responsible people. We have received so much outpouring of support from the community since our house flooded on October the 4th. And we really appreciate all the help that we've received. I can't go into it now because it would take hours. But I do appreciate Councilman Pierce communicating with us and Andrea Bowling for communicating with us. Unfortunately, our home received what is classified as substantial damage. And we received this letter. If you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to get a copy. Councilman Pierce has a copy. Essentially, we've been told that we have to elevate our house, which may not be mechanically possible, to a level that I don't know, the letter doesn't specify, by a time frame that the letter does not indicate, or we will be subjected to, or we have that option, or we can tear down our home. And if we don't do one of those things, we will be subjected to daily fines and or legal action. That cannot be the final answer. We need more information from our county government. I know that there are funds available, federal funds, both from FEMA and from HUD, that the county can apply for. I can't apply for. I have applied for individual assistance and have received individual assistance, and I'm grateful for it. But we can't live in our home. Well, actually, I don't know the answer to that question. Can we live in our home? How will we be taxed? What happens now? We need more information. This cannot be the final answer.
Thank you, Ms. Todd.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry.
Good evening. I'm Marvin Williams. I live at 1461 Leesburg Road in Lower Richland. My concern, I just came in to ask one question. You know, is the county water system, all right, is in conjunction with the city water system? And I just want to know that answer because I have been around, staying here 34 years, I thought the water system was separate, but I guess it's not.
Smarty, can you answer that? Can you get with Mr. Williams to get that question answered? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Helen Spearman. I reside at 171 Sweetwater Drive, Hopkins, South Carolina. I would like to say thank you to Councilman Washington and Jackson for helping the people in the Lower Richland area during the flood disaster. They've done an excellent job, and I'm here tonight to ask Council to please support the continued effort of the Councilman Washington and the LROC. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spearman. Next we have last name Sumter. Okay. Who's this?
Mr. McDonald, as to the Glen Haven Drive.
And also James Durant.
Could we get an email as to where that letter came from, if that was from us?
Yes.
I'd like to know more about that.
Okay, Ms. Sumter, if you can state your name and address for the record.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Dorothy A. Sumter, and I reside at 500 Old Bluff Road, Hopkins, South Carolina. And I want to come to say that to the Councilman Washington and Councilman Jackson, thank you for all your assistance that you all have given us in the Lower Richland area. And I wish that you all, the councilmen of this board, will continue to give us assistance and help. We really need it because we have roads and bridges that really need to be repaired. And so that I won't have to go to make many turns in order to get where I want to go at. The word was told to me to pack a lot of patience, and I have been doing that. And I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sumter. Mr. Durant. And is there a Mr. Dowdy?
Good afternoon. My name is James Durant. I reside at 23 Scottsdale Court in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm the pastor of New Mount Olive Baptist Church, which is located at 1101 Peter Seymour Road. I travel from Columbia down to Gadsden, and it's usually about 35, 40-minute trip. But since the flood, that's a little over an hour trip because there are detours that we've got to make. And just want to say that the utter devastation that the area suffered, it's something to behold. And if we can do anything to help people, we should. I'll conclude with this. Proverbs 3:27, withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of thine hand to do it. I believe we have the power in this room to do something about it. As I conclude, please, let's do so.
Thank you, Mr. Durant. Next we have Mr. Dowdy.
My name is Theodore Dowdy. I preside at 1027 Peter Seymour Road, Gadsden, South Carolina. After the pastor, I'm here to ask for your help, your continuing help in that area of Gadsden and Hopkins. We have roads out, Bluff Road, Air Base Road. I have to leave my house to go to Eastover to come to Columbia. Any help that this council can give us, I ask for your mercy and help us get that area back up and running. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dowdy. That concludes our citizens' input. Next, we have the report of the county administrator, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Just two items quickly tonight. The first item, which is one we postponed at a previous meeting, but wanted to bring back to you tonight, the stormwater management plan update, which we've been working on for some time. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to see where we are with the process. We have Eileen Lou Allen here with Brown and Caldwell, who is going to just again briefly walk you through what has been done to date and at what point we are with the management plan update, if you will.
Thank you for having me. We started this project back in the summer of 2014.
If you can state your name and
sure.
the company.
I'm Eileen Lou Allen. I'm with Brown and Caldwell.
All right. Thank you.
We started this plan about the summer of 2014 and completed the plan and the documentation for the division earlier this year, approximately around June. Next slide, please. What we did is this plan was not about a plan to sit on the shelf. It was about helping the division, the Stormwater Department, become more proactive with how it makes decisions and how it does its business operations. We looked at planning processes, their technologies that they use, as well as their CIP, which is the construction projects put in the ground for stormwater, water quality, floodplain management, and their operations. That was equally important to those three other areas. We developed some project databases for them, some evaluation criteria, which I'll show in a minute, and help them set up a steering committee that is an internal committee for folks within the county that touch stormwater, whether it's in the stormwater division, roads and drainage, engineering, new development. Those folks are part of this steering committee to meet routinely to help make decisions and guide the process along the way. We developed a project database that the Cynthia and her staff can use that as projects are deemed suitable to be put into consideration, they're put into this database that has the evaluation criteria built into them. Those evaluation criteria have different weighting associated with them, and those can be changed over time as the county determines that their drivers are changing, whether they're regulatory-wise or they're stakeholder-driven, whether it's internal or externally driven, or if something like a 1,000-year event happens. This tool is designed so that it can develop business case evaluation project summary sheets to provide to those that want to look at the project in more detail, provides information about the project itself, the estimated cost, the internal man-hours that Cynthia and her staff need to help manage and/or oversee the project, as well as how well the project evaluated across the criteria. In addition, we looked at all of the stormwater pipe and structure assets that the county currently owns. There are approximately 312 miles of pipe and 20,000 structures in your GIS database for pipes and structures that the county has currently. We looked at and did a criticality analysis on those structures and did an analysis of what the value of those structures and pipes are. Roughly, the 300-plus miles and 20,000 structures are worth approximately $812 million. And based on the remaining useful life for the types of materials your pipe consists of and the age of those the pipe is currently, you're looking at approximately $63 million over the next 25 years in repair and replacement costs just to keep dealing with your aging assets. Knowing that that's a large budget, even over 25 years, we did a criticality analysis where we looked at the likelihood and the consequence of pipes failing, whether the likelihood based on material type or age, the consequence, how close it is to critical buildings or critical facilities, what type of road that asset crosses under, things like that. And we were able to identify the high, medium, and low critical assets within the county. And this is just a snapshot of one portion in the middle of the county, the red assets being the ones that are considered most critical. Again, I wanted to bring up that this is a flexible, adaptive approach that we set up. This plan was not about just identifying a bunch of projects and how much it costs and here you go. It was more about how to make decisions once our consultant team leaves and 10 years down the road when drivers have changed and shifted and stormwater policy has to deal with those different drivers. So we set up an approach that on the blue circle is where you're doing your day-to-day decisions. You're deciding on projects, you're implementing those projects, and you're going back up to the top to decide what projects need to be done next. The orange circle is about checking in, making sure you're meeting those key performance indicators, that you're doing your job. So that was really the big nexus of this plan was showing the Stormwater Division how to be proactive and not reactive into the future. Next slide. So here's the crux of it. The current department budget as it stands now is approximately $3.5 million. When you look at the high-ranked non-CIP projects, the plans, the ordinance improvements, SOPs, business changes, technology improvements that we saw were needed, that's about $4.5 million worth of effort. The current CIP is 109 projects, which is approximately close to 20 million. If that was to be done over the next 5 years, that would equate to 6.8 million annually. When you take out the operations, that's 2 million of that 3.5. That's not feasible given the budget that the division currently has. So our recommendation in the short term was to target the top tier non-science CIP projects as well as the top 20 CIP projects that would fit within the budget and still allow them the budget they need to operate. Final slide. So looking out long term, we were asked to say, okay, well, past 5 years, what is the need? So we looked at water quality, stormwater, floodplain management, and operations, and broke it up into planning, CIP, and operations. And I won't go into all the details that are on this graph, but basically, with looking at the $63 million that's needed for repair and replacement of existing infrastructure, recommended projects in the existing CIP, the division needs probably closer to $7.5 to $8 million a year out into the future through the next 25 years. I think that was all, yes.
And okay. Mr. Washington.
Go back to that slide that you showed where the, I guess, the piping, the infrastructure was located at the top. Do you have a wider shot showing the whole county?
I don't. We do have it in the plan and can get that to you. It's the county is such a large county. It was hard to provide that on one single shot, so we divided it into 4 different figures. Rather than show each of the 4 figures, I was just showing an example here, but we do have all 4 figures in the plan and can get those.
Okay, each one of the lines that I'm seeing, it's a red line. Are those culverts?
Those are pipes and structures.
What type of structures? Can you give an example?
Culverts, manholes, anything associated with the pipe itself. It does not include ditches.
All right. And you may have to give it to me later. What I would like to see is your prioritization process of you in that matrix that you put together regarding that, paying out what you need to do first, second, and third. Is that a part of that, your report?
Yes. There's a table in the report that shows the different criteria or the metrics that we looked at for the likelihood and the consequence of failure for each of the assets. That is outlined in the report. And you have a database now that has each of those assets labeled as such, and you can see the scoring for each of the assets.
What was the makeup of the committee that made the recommendation to you all regarding that matrix?
We had a series of workshops, and in the workshop that involved the discussion of this, it involved Stormwater Division under Ismail with Quentin Epps and Sanithia during that transition, as well as Carlton and Andrea and Cindy Kessner.
In this study, did it look at choke points? And what I mean by that, did you look at sizing of the pipes, requirements, and overlaying it with data that we already collecting with regards to those areas that we're having problems with?
The scope of the work was not to do any modeling to look at whether or not the existing assets could convey a certain storm event. I know there are some studies for certain areas that show that, but the purpose of this was not to do a wide-scale model for the county.
It was not to do it.
Mr. Washington, if I can back up a little bit.
If you can state your name and department.
My name is Ismail Azbek. I'm the Public Works Director for Richland County. The purpose of this study was a long-term roadmap, a master plan. So you're looking down from a 30,000 view and breaking it down for future for over a 25-year. The report, which we can give you copies of, that it's about, 3-inch thick, but it was broken in very logical layers and all these processes. It gives us a path forward and the methodology to use and evaluate. So the recommendations also include a lot of sub-projects within that. And we are going to have watershed based studies done based on the roadmap. So this is just a roadmap, what you're looking at.
Well, let me ask you this. Any of the data that we're looking at capturing after this rain event, after the disaster, do you think you need to get that data first before you publish this? Because, I mean, personally, I think this is going to change everything once we get that data, and especially in our prioritization of, what infrastructure we need to put in place and how we're going to go about.
That is the next steps. The study gives the next steps. Where do you go from here? We had several public meetings. We got input. What's the county's priority and so on. And again, when we started this project, I think it was started many years ago by Quentin. I would say at least 2-3 years in the making. This was way before this flood. So this was already, the project is already completed. We have the reports and what have you. This is just the roadmap. But we will have projects. What you're looking for is already, we're working with our current consultants, going back and do a post-disaster evaluation, which is going to look into all the choke points, lessons learned, where do you go from here, and I believe Mr. McDonald is going to, we are working on that we've been working on that last few days.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Mr. Pierce.
This study was primarily concentrated on unincorporated Richland County, is that correct? Or the entire county?
It looked at the entire county.
So it did include the city?
Well, it included the watersheds within the entire county, but only included those assets that the county owns. It did not look at assets that cities owned or were responsible for.
I think one of the things we've learned is that if those two systems don't work together, we're going to have a train wreck. We already had one, because whatever we have now doesn't work, and it didn't work out at all. Now, we're not going to get in a debate about whether it worked or not, all right? But did you take into account, one of the questions that we're going to be challenged with are the purpose and of the lakes that the homeowners are calling stormwater detention ponds now. But there's a series of dams that goes through. Was that taken in with the water management in those lakes considered in this plan at all? I get a blank look on your face like, what am I talking about?
Yeah, while Eileen is processing the question, and again, the purpose of this master plan and roadmap did not include the detailed study, which is going to be the next step. Maybe Eileen, if you want to go into the next steps, where do you go from here? All the questions that Mr. Washington and Mr. Pierce and everybody's in mind, this is just the first look from the 30,000 view. And she, I don't know if you caught that big number, $60 million. So we're going to need your assistance. The purpose of today's briefing was just briefly to tell you what this one is about. We're going to come back to you with watershed by watershed, project by project. We're going to explain why Lower Richland is hit such a big time than upper portion of the county. So we are going to break it down into that level. But the purpose of this particular watershed study, I'm sorry, this is the master plan, did not include lakes or any type of modeling, hydrological or hydraulic modeling.
Okay, so she looked at the county from 30,000 feet, and you identified. Say it. Give it to me again. What is?
Okay. Well, can you give an overview again about the purpose of the study and what we will do? We do have summaries of this study for the purpose of tonight. I think we asked the consultant to keep it as short as possible, and that was why you didn't give the whole. You didn't get the whole picture. We can get you the summaries.
We'll get a copy of this.
Of course, yes. We all paid for it, and you can have your individual copies. Sunitya, I suggest, And again, this was a briefing and not to give you, we will provide you,
But we need to get from 30,000 feet down to ground zero really.
Yes.
Real soon.
This is the first
And
step.
we need to know where those problems are and focus right on those most critical areas.
I understand.
So I guess my question is, I heard her say that you've come up with a way to focus on the most critical, and that's what we're going to look at first?
Of course, yes.
Well,
of course.
let me say one thing
I'm through, Mr. Chairman. You can have it.
to my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Spear. Understand this study was done pre our disaster. If we wanted to, and I know everybody has a lot of questions based on what happened as far as recent events. If we want to take a work session or something like that to really drill into it, that may be a better meeting to really drill into the issues, because I think it'll be, that process will take longer than what we have tonight. Ms. Dickerson.
That was, you asked my question. I think with all this information that we're getting tonight, that it is mind-boggling, and therefore I would suggest that our chair look at, making it possible for us to have a workshop, because I have several questions like, how long did you do this process prior to bringing this information to us, the funding source that was used to fund all of this thing? So I have like numerous questions. So if you all can, if the chair would be so graciously to try to organize a workshop so that I can participate if nobody else, so I'd like to know a little bit more about it.
And we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dickerson. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Chair. What was the scope of work again for this?
The scope of work involved a series of workshops and working with the Stormwater Division to look at how they currently operate and how they make decisions related to stormwater infrastructure, water quality improvements, and floodplain management, as well as how they operate. And we looked at and did a series of workshops to look at the gaps that we saw that were inefficiencies on how decisions were being made, how projects were being developed, and how future studies were being identified. And we helped go through that process to define better and improved processes on how to do that, and identified a series of programs, policies, plans, and technologies that we recommended so that they could do their job not only better, but more efficiently into the future.
Okay, I get. No, I understand what you're saying, where you're going. And I'm not trying to use what happened in this flood to address what you're doing, because it has nothing to do with that. One of the main things I've seen in the past is maintenance. If things are properly maintained, things will be a lot better. I mean, and that's from experience over the years I've worked. So, thank you for now.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seems like rather than bring something like this under the administrator plan update, that we should have been provided copies of all this information and some type of a work session scheduled. If you want to talk about efficiency, that's where I think the efficiency would be. Based on what I'm hearing from my colleagues, pretty much none of us know what's going on here, and this is kind of the first we're hearing and seeing of it. Was your study area that little square box in the center of the lower square?
No, it involved the whole county. This was just as an example.
What's that square box for?
That represents what's in the bigger square, and it shows the relation of where it's in the county. The rest of the county's in three other
And you stated
figures.
that this only took in pipelines and manholes and structures like that. We've got a lot of this county that does not have that. Lower Richland, the Northeast, the Northwest, that has ditches. And we need to address that situation too, especially based on what we just saw happening here. And even without this happening, they should be addressed, because that is a water runoff primary way of doing it in these areas. Thank you.
Well, and I agree with you as well, Mr. Malinowski. The only thing, just like we do with other issues, whether it's our annual audit information or our county master plan, this was just supposed to be a briefing, not necessarily an in-depth discussion on this issue, just to briefly go over.
Okay, well, briefly, let's include the ditches.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why I said if we do a work session, I think we can get more in-depth into our conversation with this. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And not to hold time up, but you guys could get back in touch with me on this particular question. I understand the update, but how do you implement an update like this when District 9 does not have a master plan? And I will take an answer at a later date. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What you mean? It wasn't included in this, you mean?
No, it's in there, but
Okay.
District 9 does not have a master
Okay.
plan, so how do you put something like this in place?
Okay.
And that's a later date they could
Okay.
get back
All
with
right.
me.
Thank you.
I'll be in the building tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Mr. Livingston.
Just for clarification, see, I thought basically what we were getting here, they just did an assessment of operations and just instructions, and we just getting that assessment so they have something to work with. It's what I understood.
If I may, Chairman Rush and Mr. Livingston, let me try to restate what the purpose of this. It's unfortunate the timing, but this was supposed to have been done when the studies was finished. We postponed it because of the disaster, and it had nothing to do with the flood and detailed level of storm drainage. What this was mainly is started way back with Mr. Washington, and most of you council members were involved in. A couple of years ago, we had a series of major storm events. It was a precursor to this big one, probably, but traditionally counties, public works departments, or stormwater divisions, they are reactive. The purpose of this thing is just to be proactive for the future, look at it before it happens. So that's why it was at that time. Unfortunately, if we knew what was coming down, the scope would have been completely different. But in the short term, Chairman Rush, within the next few days to within a month, you are going to get assessment, impact, where do we go, look at all the choke points. That is coming in the short term, but we'll do a better job explaining what this one. It's just an unfortunate timing for us. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Yourself.
No, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, it would be the Community Planning Month Spirit Week. I'm going to ask Ms. Hegler from the Planning Department to give you just a minute's overview on where we are, if she will.
Yep.
Good evening. I will be very brief and I'm much less complex than I usually am. I wanted to thank you.
Hegler, if you can.
Tracy Hegler, Planning Director for Richland County.
Thank you.
I wanted to first thank you for the National Community Planning Month proclamation you gave us last week, and let you know that we do have some ongoing efforts to recognize that month. The Neighborhood Improvement Program has organized a Planning Spirit Week that would start on Monday. We're going to host several events that will focus on the various initiatives that NIP offers, the importance of environmentally sound planning practices, and the benefits of progressive community planning in Richland County. Specifically, we're going to host meetings with the public. We can go over showcase the last 10 years of NIP. We'll have another session where we meet with the organizations and departments that we have the fortune of partnering with to do the same thing. Thursday evening, we're going to work with the staff from Public Works and Conservation to teach our citizens about nature in their neighborhood. And lastly, we've asked our local school districts to allow us to come in and teach some of their middle school students about planning. And so, introduce them to infrastructure and facilities, probably a very timely lesson for them as well. So I've worked with the clerk's office to get those sessions on your calendars, but wanted you to have a little idea of what we have planned. And also, before I go quickly, I want to thank NIP staff for doing this. I've wanted to do something fun for Community Planning Month for a couple years, and Ashley Powell, Latasha Green, and Cheryl Johnson have really stepped up, and I know most of you know that they always do. So they did again, and if there are no questions for me, I'll get out of your way.
Thank you, Ms. Hegler.
Thank you.
That completes my report, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Next, we have the report of the Clerk of Council, Ms. McDaniel.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of council. In your package, you'll see a list of recommendations for next year's council retreat. I think most of you have already seen this list. We would need action on this item. Each of the available locations shows the date in which they are available, either January 20th through 22nd or January 27th through 29th.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I think in our last budget deliberations, we have funding available for retreat, because we do this every year, right? So we wouldn't have to search for new dollars, just within the council services budget.
They're not specified dollars, but we will take it for wherever council specifies the funds to come from.
I guess what I'm asking, I mean, it's not like we have to go search for the funding. I mean, it's available in council services budget.
Yes, sir.
Done, Mr. Jeter?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Jeter.
We need a motion.
At this point, either we can do one of two things. We can, if council's ready to decide on location, we can do location and date. I know Mr. Manning, just one second. I know Mr. Manning's biggest concern was the date, or we can actually narrow down the date. So whichever direction council wants to go. Mr. Washington.
I make a motion to select number 6.
Okay, got a motion. I got a motion. It's been properly second. Discussion. Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can we find out from Councilman Manning if there may be a problem with any of these dates and eliminate them, please?
Thank you, Councilman Malinowski. No, it's fine. I just wanted to get dates on the calendar for other things in my day job that are starting to be scheduled in the first part of next year.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr.
So these
Manning.
dates are both fine. Just want to get it nailed down, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I'll make a secondary motion to go with number 9.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion. It's been properly second for number 9. That's the substitute motion. Any discussion? All in favor of any more discussion? All in favor of the secondary motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Rose.
All opposed? Like sign.
Opposed, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Manning, Jeter.
Okay, the original motion for number 6. All in favor of that motion signify by saying, raising your hand.
In favor, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Manning, Jeter.
All opposed, like sign.
Opposed, Dixon, Malinowski, Rose.
That motion carries. Thank you, Ms.
We're gonna have to go back to the manager's center.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel.
That concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniels. Next with Mr. Manning.
At our last meeting, we, in addition to the retreat, had proposed dates for 2016 council meeting.
Yeah.
But that didn't get brought forward.
Didn't we?
Have an idea when we'll
I thought we took that.
back up?
Last week's meeting, Mr. Manning, I asked to defer both items to November so that we could get through any concerns you had about the flood that were more pressing. And this item was brought back specifically as you requested for your calendar, so we opted to bring those dates back November 3rd.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Manning. Next, we have the report of the chair. That item, being that we need more information on that item, we're actually, this is the letter of support for the state property acquisition. We'll actually bring that back for the first meeting in November. And
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
It's my understanding this was time sensitive.
Is it time sensitive? And that's this issue, if you want to explain, Ms. McDaniel.
They asked for this item for us to give them a letter by Friday. Ms. Anchetta engaged them first, and then I began to speak with Mr. James and explain to her that council was not convening prior to Friday, and so there was no way for us to submit a letter, but however, we would bring it to council for consideration tonight. They are trying to solidify, so in their mind, it is time sensitive, but it is at the discretion of council. This is not a requirement. It is something that they've asked of us. They stated that in other areas they have gotten counties to provide a letter of support. So it is at the discretion of council whether you want to take the issue up tonight or at a later date.
All right, discussion. Mr. Malinowski and Mr. Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. while they may think it's time sensitive, if it was time sensitive, as I have stated before, previously, these people need to get to us rather than 2 days before their emergency, because it's not an emergency on our part. So if they want these things done, and they knew that it was coming up, they should have allowed ample time for it to be properly put on the agenda as it is. It only happened to be put there because of our chair agreeing to put it under his report. I have no idea from the information that we were provided. The maps are horrible to try and figure out where the property is. I don't know if this is county property they want to swap out.
No.
Right?
Just 1 second, Mr. Pierce.
Then if somebody, I mean, if Mr. Pierce, you may know more because you're talking to more folks than I am out there, so I'm willing to listen to a clarification on what this is.
I'll get clarification for you. Mr. Washington.
And that's what I want to talk about. Can y'all give an executive summary real quick on what this is all about?
Martin, if you can state your name, company, and address, please.
Martin Moore, CBRE, 308 Chambly Drive. My personal or business?
That's fine. That's fine.
Columbia 29209. The request in front of you is for a letter of support from the state of South Carolina. The new Department of Administration, as of July the 1st, took this property swap to the JBRC, Joint Bond Review Committee, approximately 2 weeks ago. And because it's a swap rather than a state acquisition, they weren't quite sure that a letter of support was needed or per their guidelines. And with the Department of Administration, as you all know, being new, JBRC approved the agreement that the state has entered with the private individual to swap the land. It's Richland County property in the city, and the state's property is in the county and in the city. And in the last moment, JBRC said, you know, just with caution, let's ask for the letter of support just so the county knows what's going on. So I do apologize that it came up quickly. It was not something the Department of Administration thought was going to be what the JBRC needed. The property being discussed that the state owns is at the corner of Assembly and Pendleton in the block with IHOP and the Bernstein Law Firm, and it's a parking lot of approximately 37 spaces at the corner of Assembly and Pendleton. The state of South Carolina owns that. The property that is being swapped is half of the parking lot at the corner of Senate and Sumter behind the South Carolina Human Affairs Commission building. It's a private lot now. The offerer in the letter has agreed to purchase that lot, is in agreement with the state of South Carolina. I'll buy the lot. I'll swap half that lot for your lot at Pendleton and Assembly. The state said certainly. We gain parking spaces. We gain beneficial parking spaces. It gives the South Carolina Human Affairs Commission building parking, contiguous parking. So the state said, we'll do it. They took it to JBRC, and at the end, JBRC said, can we ask the county for a letter of support? And again, that's generally when the state acquires property and takes it off the rolls. This is actually a swap that'll put more property on the roll, so it's a little bit of an unusual situation.
Mr. Point of clarification real quick. Please repeat that part, that if this happens, Richland County would benefit increasing the taxable property.
Right. What we're doing is we're putting the Assembly and Pendleton parking lot, 37 spaces. If you've ever been a guest at the General Assembly, you cross Assembly Street. Yeah. That's off the tax rolls. It's owned by the state of South Carolina, and CBRE did the strategic report for South Carolina, and there are parcels that they say aren't necessarily as useful as others. That's a parcel you have to cross Assembly Street, not many parking spaces. It's off the tax rolls. The purchaser of the Senate Street lot will give them half Senate Street for that Assembly Street. Assembly Street goes on the tax rolls. The remaining portion of the Senate and Sumter Street lot will actually be assessed at a higher value than the entire Senate Street lot is now because of the reassessment. So property is added to the rolls and property taxes go up on the Senate and Sumter lot. So the state comes out with better parking for visitors. They dispose of something that's not very useful to them. They add property to the rolls. The city of Columbia benefits because they'd like to see a complete development in that block. It gets the state out of the way of that entire block of property on Assembly, so they're able to do what they want. So the net is The county has more tax revenue via a swap.
All right, thank you. Mr. Washington, you still have the floor.
All right. The county has parking spaces, or the state has?
The state has 37 spaces at Assembly in Pendleton.
So anytime the state takes down private property,
Right.
so does a letter like this from the county is usually generated?
Generally, the state, now what's the Department of Administration, would write a letter to the county, wherever that may be, and say, hey, we're going to purchase property and take it off the tax rolls. And we just would like to ask for a letter of support, and the state would explain why they're doing that. In this case, the state's agreed to swap property rather than just go get something and take it off the rolls. They're just swapping with a private owner. Private owner of the Senate Street lot said, I'll give you half my lot, you give me that lot. So this is a swap rather than the state just going and buying property.
I understand that part. I'm just trying to figure out, why the county is involved.
Candidly, the Department of Administration didn't think that I was going to have to be here to ask you for this. It's the first time a swap has happened under the new Department of Administration. So they asked Joint Bond Review, approve our agreement, and one individual on Joint Bond Review said, let's just be cautious and take it to county council, and it's been quite confusing for everybody to know why we had to ask.
So you can't move forward without the letter? I'm sorry, Mr. Bush.
We can, but it is better not to. The Joint Bond Review, it's awkward. That's right.
It's floor, Mr. Washington.
No, that was my next question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry about that. Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Chair, this item did come before the Economic Development Committee. We discussed this item. It's not the same one?
I don't think that's the same one.
It's related.
It is? Okay.
It's related.
It's the same one.
Okay.
And in our discussion, one thing that's mentioned already is putting this piece of property on the tax roll. But most important for the property owner is that part of the block that we're talking about, that when you get that piece, it squares the block, so it's easy for the person to develop the property as opposed to having one little
corner cut out
that's carved out that will not allow you to develop properly. So it's to the county advantage to have that done as well with the tax involvement, and to the developers' advantage to do so. And so that's why the committee recommended approval. And that's the same as item 16, really, pretty much, yeah.
That's right.
All right. Mr. I wonder if we can do it all in one motion. Mr. Malinowski. You done, Mr. Clifford?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's right. Mr. Chair, my question was answered with Mr. Washington's last
Thank you,
question.
Mr. Malinowski. Mr. Jeter.
Mr. Washington.
All right. Ms. Dickerson, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. I heard my esteemed colleague to my right said that it was embedded in the Economic Development Committee. That's fine, but I didn't hear anything about it. So it's one thing for 2 or 3 people to hear, and now, I guess to do my math, the rest of us have to be caught up on what was discussed in the economic development. So until I have a report to show me basically what came out and what they're, I'm hearing now that it was made for a recommendation for approval, but this is my first time hearing. It did not come out of committee.
Dan.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dickerson. Chair, entertain a motion. Mr. Livingston. I'm sorry, Mr. Pierce.
Thank you. I move approval of this item.
Second. Got a motion for approval. It's been properly second. Any more discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Washington, Manning, Jeter.
All opposed, like sign.
Opposed, Dickerson.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries. All right, next week.
Mr. Chairman, move for reconsideration.
Got a motion for reconsideration. It's been properly second. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Nay.
That motion fails. Next, we'll have open and close a public hearing. An ordinance amending the Richland County Code of Ordinance, Chapter 21, Roads, Highways, and Bridges, Section 21-20, Road Paving Program, so as to add language regarding a design exception for paved surface width.
One person signed up to speak.
I have one citizen signed up to speak. Louis Green. Is that the wrong? That was the wrong one. Mr. Green, Louis Green? All right. That public hearing was open, it's now closed. Item 12B, in support of the reinsuance by the South Carolina Jobs Economic Development Authority of its variable rate demand healthcare facilities revenue bonds, Eau Claire Cooperative Health Center Project, Series 2006A, pursuant to the provision of Title 41, Chapter 43 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina, 1996, as amended, in the original principal amount of approximately $4,262,536. That public hearing is open. No one signed up to speak. That public hearing is now closed. Next, we have the approval of consent items. Item 13. Got a motion for approval. It's been properly second. Discussion. All in favor? Mr. Malinowski.
We needed some clarification on this one when it came to the Rules Committee because of trying to, to appoint board members. And we're trying to figure out if this is the same one, the Music Commission there, that you have here. Do you know? Could we get at the Rules Committee at least whatever this particular ordinance is? Somebody provide that to us.
Speak to it?
Yeah.
You know, I just happened across this ordinance while
Yeah, I
looking
know.
through the ordinance book.
Right.
And I think the music festival was in that same,
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, I think it's in the same, so we would have to take that up separately, correct?
Right, it's not mentioned here in this item, but.
And I think that's where, it was in that chapter.
Right.
Correct. So we're just doing the Parks and Rec now, though, not the music.
My intent of the motion was to eliminate the whole chapter.
Okay, well, because
I don't know.
in researching it here,
It's written.
which was originally in 86, there was an update to the 1965 one, and it said that in the 1986 one, it says that the commission shall consist of 6 members, and it goes on to say 3 of whom must be appointed by the Richland County Council, 1 nominated by the Columbia Music Festival. So I think we ought to maybe do the recs, Parks and Recs, and keep the Music Commission till we get legal to, for sure, tell us if we're responsible or not.
Would you like to have a
That's the way this
substitute?
thing is written, is just rec.
Okay,
So-
then that's fine. Let's go with that.
Okay.
You know, last week it had it all.
All right. You done, Mr. Malinowski?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Any more discussion? This is a second reading item. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Third reading items. As an ordinance amending the Richland County Code of Ordinance, Chapter 21, Roads, Highways, Bridges, Section 21-20, Road Paving Program, so as to add language regarding a design exception for paved surface width.
Move to approve.
You got a motion for approval? Is there a second? It's been properly second. Discussion. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Jeter.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next, we'll have the report of the Development and Service Committee. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Or Item 15, Department of Public Works Private Pond Policy. Currently, the committee is asking for a deferral at this time due to additional language.
Are you just saying you're keeping it in committee?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, there's no action needed on that. Thank you.
That concludes.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Next, we have the report of the Economic Development Committee. Mr. Livingston.
Mr. Chair, this item is very related to the item we just took up regarding the property corner of Pendleton and Assembly. You may recall a while back, we've had 3 readings on approval regarding this property, and we put it into the industrial park. What's been asked in item number 16 is just simply to incorporate that small portion that we just agreed to as it relates to the letter and include that into the industrial park also. That's all 16 is referring to. And the committee recommendation was for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. You heard the committee's recommendation. Any discussion? This is the first reading item, Ms.
It's by
Dickerson.
title only.
Title.
First reading by title only.
And, Mr. Chair?
Ms. Dickerson, you have the floor.
I think had we discussed this item prior to the letter, I would have been able to have a little bit more input and in depth to that. So I can see this going, but I think the cart was put before the horse again in this particular item. So, I mean, although I really agreed with the other one, but I voted against it in that particular context. But the way this is put, I can support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dickerson. Any more discussion? This is first reading item. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have the report of the Rules and Appointment Committee. Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Livingston, does that time sent? We need to reconsider?
No, that's a first reading. First reading title.
First reading. What we're doing is we're actually amending the original one where we did not include that little parcel, so we got to go through the 3 readings.
All right, gotcha.
All right. Next, we have the report of the Rules and Appointment Committee. Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 17 was held in committee pending interviews of all applicants. One could not make it today. I should say did not make it today. 18A, the Music Festival, that was sent to the Ordinance Review Committee for legal clarification and recommendation. 18B was held in committee to resolve whether or not the ordinance requires specific backgrounds from individuals that apply, and then determine if the current applicant does qualify based on what those specifics are. Item number 19, that was deferred in committee to obtain new legal consultation and information, which we should have by the next meeting, it looks like. Item number 20, it is recommended that we approve the language on page 68.
Okay, you heard the committee's recommendation. Any discussion?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Mr. Washington.
Can you give me the synopsis of the language on 68, Mr. Staff?
Smith.
Washington, essentially what the committee decided is that we would, that the clerk's office would make available council's contact sheet for individuals that may want to get additional information from a specific council person, and that the chairman would ask a member of staff to speak with the individual off to the side if they require to answer at that moment.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Just quickly, just real quick. That motion was actually made by a citizen. I made it on their behalf. And I think that's what that was the whole issue, is that they would say things and they wouldn't know who was going to follow up on it. So that's what they were looking for. And I think that clarification would resolve that. So.
Okay, this is a one reading item. The committee recommended approval of the language on page 68. All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Rhodes, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Manning, Jeter.
All opposed, like sign. That motion carries. Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 21, the committee recommends to have the grievance committee follow the rules that are shown on page 69 of this agenda, which come directly from the Richland County Handbook, and that was the previous recommendation before the deferral to this meeting.
Okay, you heard. You heard the committee's recommendation. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Jeter.
All opposed, like sign. That motion carries. Next item, Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 22. At the October 12th Rules meeting, the committee brought forward a recommendation to council. However, because of the lengthy agenda, it was not added as a new item. So the committee does recommend to add the language on page 70, which actually shortens up the old language. You can see on page 70 it had 4 paragraphs, and now it goes to 1 sentence. And that the proposed change is the council may go into executive session as provided for in the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act as amended. That's what we're recommending.
Committee, you heard the committee's recommendation. Any discussion? All in favor of that recommendation signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Manning, Jeter.
All opposed, like sign. That motion carries.
And that completes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Other items, item 23, Eau Claire Jetta Bond Resolution.
Move approve, Mr. Chair.
I got a motion for approval.
Second.
It's been properly second.
Question.
Mr. Pierce.
Yeah, there he is. I figured there was an attorney here. They're just they're refinancing the debt. Is that what this is?
Exactly.
Okay. That's all I know. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Lower rate?
Wait a minute. One second. Mr. Jeter and then Ms. Dickerson.
My wife works for Eau Claire, but I just wanted to state that. Nobody asked me to support Eau Claire. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Jeter. Ms. Dickerson.
Is the rate lower?
I'm John Langford with Hainsworth Sinclair Boyd, just for the record. They're extending the maturity date as the primary change.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of that motion signify by raising your hand.
In favor, Dixon, Malinowski, Rose, Jackson, Pierce, Rush, Livingston, Dickerson, Washington, Manning.
All opposed, like sign. That motion carries. Next, we have citizens' input must pertain to items not on the agenda.
How about it? Nope.
No, nobody signed up to speak. Next, we have executive session. Mr. Smith, could you go over our executive session item again, please?
Chairman, members of council, there's one item on the agenda for executive session, and that relates to AP Consulting Group. It's a contractual matter.
All right, thank you. Chair, entertain a motion for executive session. Got a motion for executive session. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Mr.